Hey, shalom, shalom, Rob Yoshi here. I wanted to upload Psalm 6. It says, O Lord, do not rebuke me in thine anger, nor... Let me hold it up here so I can see. I always hate this part. Much better. It says, Lord, do not rebuke me in thine anger, nor chasten me in thy wrath. Be gracious to me, O Yah, for I am pining away. Heal me, O Yah, for my bones are dismayed, and my soul is greatly dismayed. But thou, O Yah, how long? Return, O Yah, rescue my soul. Save me because of thy loving kindness. For there is no mention of thee in death, in Sheol who will give thee thanks. I am weary with my sighing. Every night I soak my bed with tears. I dissolve my couch with my tears. My eye has wasted away with grief. It has become old because of all my adversaries. Depart from me, all you who do iniquity. For Yah Adonai has heard my voice from my weeping. Yah has heard my supplication. Yah has received my prayers. All my enemies shall be ashamed and greatly dismayed. They shall turn back. They shall suddenly be ashamed. Well, take those off now. Here's the gist of the psalm. This is one of my favorite psalms of David because it shows his humanity. Oftentimes we think of a world leader, we think of somebody who's not approachable, or somebody who's not human. They don't have that broken heart about them. And yet David clearly shows in this psalm that as king, he still has a broken heart. Be gracious to me, for I am pining away. Heal me, for my bones are dismayed. There comes a time when everyone, including obviously the King David, that we find ourselves dismayed in situations and circumstances, things that are beyond our control. And this is obviously what was happening to David. Other than being, set aside as a psalm of David for the choir director on the string of the lyre, we don't find too much. But the opening phrase is awesome. It says, O Yah Adonai, do not rebuke me in thine anger. David understood the consequences of sin. David understood, when Hashem needs to rebuke us. Sometimes, like humans, we get angry when we need to rebuke somebody. And so David was, pleading to Hashem, don't rebuke me in thy anger, and nor chasten me or chastise me in your wrath. Even though David deserved it many a times for many different things. But he petitions Hashem to rescue him. He says, rescue me, Hashem. Rescue my soul. Save me because of thy loving kindness. There's some Torah code stuff there that's really powerful if we could get into it. I'm still waiting to get a program so that way I can do all this neat video editing thing where I can, bring in the text and go over the text in Hebrew. Just so for now, this is what you get. But there's some really cool Torah code sessions here that show Yeshua is his salvation. I am weary in my sighing, and at night I swim in my bed in tears. Most of us, from time to time, I would imagine, have had those nights where we just can't sleep. Anxiety overwhelms us. We're weeping because of our situations. In today's current situations, we find ourselves weeping at the thought of what could happen. Obama turning his back on the military, asking them to pay for their own health insurance. Swine flu crossing the border. Why was that allowed to happen? Why isn't our border shut? So many of us can be up at night worrying about our adversaries, worrying about situations and crying out like David did. But there comes a point in the psalm where David changes. Something's happened. He says, depart from me, all you who do iniquity, for Yah has heard my voice and the voice of my weeping. There comes a point in prayer when we're crying out to Hashem that there's a break, that we feel that not to get spiritual warfare, that there's a break in the heavens, that our prayer has been heard from Hashem. And when that happens, and we need to prevail, we need to persevere in prayer, so that while we're praying, we just don't go, here it is, throw it at the doorstep and walk away. David persevered. He kept crying out to Hashem. He didn't just say, well, I cried out once and stood in faith and said, now faith is God is going to hear me. He doesn't do that. Okay? He continues to cry out. Here's David. I'm sorry, I don't think there's anyone out there in today's Netzari or Jewish or Christian movement that matches King David. I don't care what name and claim it is. They're just not out there. And here's David crying on his bed at night. If anybody knew about faith, it would be David. So David cries out, Hashem hears him, and then what does he say? The first thing he says is, get away from me, all you lawbreakers. That amazes me. That's powerful. Okay? Adonai has heard my supplication. Adonai has received my prayer. All my enemies shall be ashamed and greatly dismayed. They shall turn back and they shall suddenly be ashamed. When he has that breakthrough, he then tells people who are sinning, get away from me. Not because he's holier than thou, but because in human nature we have a tendency to gravitate to things that we're comfortable with. And let's be honest, oftentimes we're comfortable with sin. So David says, get away from me, all you sinners, all you people of iniquity, you who choose to break the Torah. John Stott, famous quote of John Stott from the Book of Christ, he says, what angers him, well, he starts it out like this. It's my favorite quote. It goes, what angers us, injured vanity, when our pride is injured, we get angry, never angers him. And what angers him, sin, seldom angers us. It's kind of like that reflection thing. And so that when we have that breakthrough with Hashem and our prayers are heard, our weeping is heard, it's made it up to heaven, he's heard the weeping and the breaking of our heart, we need to remember to separate ourselves. Once you come into a state of acceptance of Hashem, a state of righteousness, right standing before Hashem, don't go getting entangled in sin which so easily besets us. We have to persevere in righteousness. And that's one of these prayers. That's one of these psalms. David's singing, he's rejoicing. He says, now that Hashem has heard my prayer, my enemies will be ashamed. They'll be scattered. They'll be dismayed. They'll turn back in shame. It means they're going to be humiliated. So oftentimes when people tell you, oh, don't do this and don't do that, and you've got to love your enemies, you've got to understand what that means when somebody says love your enemies. Okay? Does that mean you love the guy that's breaking into your home trying to kill you the same way you love your children? Chas v'shalom. Heaven forbid. You know? Because you don't do that. It's talking about a heart attitude. It means don't be a vindictive person that wants retribution on people all the time. So Psalm 6 is an excellent psalm. When I do get the software fixed and get it all patched in and I'm able to edit the videos the way I like, then I'll start adding some Torah code text. So that the text of the Torah will come alive with what's hidden in the code. I'm not talking about the Grant Jeffries, go this way, go around this way, come back that way, Torah code. I'm talking about the simple equidistant lettering in one direction, maybe a reflection direction, but not, a parallelogram with obtuse triangle, nothing like that. So listen, this is Rav Yoshi. I hope you enjoyed this psalm. Shalom, shalom.